Hello and welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about classification. So, what makes different animals different from each other and what categorises them together. Now first of all, you need to realise that there's two main categories, and these are called kingdoms. That is the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom. Now today we are going to focus on the animal kingdom. When you're looking at the animal kingdom, the first thing you want to look at is whether your animal has a backbone or not. If they're invertebrate or if they're a vertebrate. So for my first animal, we'll have a close look and see. Now this is a Madagascan hissing cockroach. Now this guy is a prime example of an invertebrate. He doesn't have a backbone. In fact, he doesn't really have an internal skeleton. He actually has something called an exoskeleton, which means he wears his skeleton on the outside of his body. Now you'll hear him hissing there, and that's a particular adaptation that this one animal has. But all invertebrates don't have a backbone, and many of them will have this hard exoskeleton exterior. Now mammals are a classification of vertebrate, just like my friend Benji here. So mammals come in all shapes and sizes. They can be orangutans or chimpanzees, all the way to tigers and lions. However, they share a lot of similarities. They all have fur in some way. They all give birth to live, except for a few exceptions. And they also all provide milk for the youngsters. These are really essential to being a mammal, and it makes them one of the most advanced of all of the classifications in the animal kingdom. Another group of vertebrae that we need to talk about are reptiles. This is drake, and drake is a rainbow boa. All reptiles are covered in scales, and they're actually something we call cold-blooded animals. That means they don't actually control their own body temperature. They actually rely on the sun and other mechanisms to keep them warm. Now obviously here in Dudley, we can't copy the tropical temperatures of the sun where our friend Drake lives. But we can use things like heat mats and heat bulbs to actually replicate that and keep them nice and warm. Now, reptiles also can be characterised by the fact that the majority of them actually lay eggs, while some snakes are known to give birth to live young. But a lot of the time what they do is actually produce an egg within their body, and then the egg hatches within them and it looks like it's giving birth to live. Now, Drake is getting a little bit suspicious of me, so we're going to put him back and carry on looking at different classifications of animals. So right now I am at one of our newer enclosures, which is our yellow-banded poison dart frogs. Now these are a great example of amphibians. Now amphibians are also cold-blooded, just like the reptiles. They have to have heat to actually control their own body temperature. Also, they can absorb moisture and water through their skin, as well as actually breathe through some of their thinner skin. They also tend to follow the same development pattern. So usually they start as an egg, become a larvae or a tadpole, and then they change to become an adult. Now one other thing about amphibians which is quite interesting is they always tend to have one skin adaptation, which actually makes up for a defense mechanism. With the poison dart frogs, they can actually be so poisonous that just by touching them, you can actually be killed. So next on the list of vertebrae are birds. Now this is Echo. Echo is a barn owl, but more importantly, we're just going to look at her as a bird today. What characteristics do we look for in a bird? Well, they are covered head to toe in feathers. These beautiful streamlined things actually help them fly, or in some cases swim, like our penguins. Our penguins rely on their feathers to keep waterproof, but these folks, they rely on theirs to fly. They're also one of the oldest vertebrae out there. They actually evolved from dinosaurs, just like reptiles did. Another thing that characterises birds is that they lay eggs, just like reptiles do, but obviously reptiles don't have the feathers, they have the scales instead. Another factor that characterises birds is their beak. Every single bird has a beak. They also digest their food in a very special way. In fact, they can eat as much as they want, and they hold their food, and they can actually digest it at a later date when it's suitable for them. And now for one of our last groups, we're down at the Lima Wood Pool, where we've actually got some koi carp in there. Now, fish make up our last group. They can be broken up into more groups than that, but we're going to keep it basic for this video. Now, fish are known because they breathe through their gills. They're often covered with scales, and they actually will all lay eggs. So there we have it. We've looked at lots of different categories of animals, and I hope our trip around the zoo has really cleared up some of the classifications for you, and it really helps with your homeschooling. Thank you very much for listening, guys, and I hope to see you soon.